So our guest speaker tonight is Chris Rosica. Chris is the president and CEO of Rosica Communications, a PR and marketing communications firm. He's passionate about entrepreneurs and helping them communicate. Chris is a popular keynote speaker and author of The Authentic Brand, a book about cause marketing, and his new book, soon to be released, The Business of Cause Marketing, will tell you how to implement cause marketing in your business. Welcome, Chris. Welcome to the show. And so tell us, what is cause marketing?
Cause marketing is the partnership between a for-profit and a not-for-profit. And it's generally, there's a pure motive. The entrepreneur wants to get involved with a nonprofit and give back. But it's really there's a for-profit motive that is we believe is totally ethical, especially if it's married with the pure motive. So cause marketing is the partnership between a for-profit and a not-for-profit, with the ultimate goal of mutual publicity, promotion, and benefit.
Are you seeing a movement toward more cause marketing? Is that because just looking at a lot of the advertising that I see now, there seems to be a fair amount of cause marketing.
Well, I've seen a big spike since COVID hit, and that's primarily due to the fact that the public really expects companies to step up and to help others. The public is expecting a lot from businesses these days. It's a very small percentage of monies donated to nonprofits that are given by companies. It's individuals that give more than 80% of all donations to nonprofits. So now the public is saying, hey, step up, be socially responsible, give back, donate products. If you have PPE, for instance, if you're selling PPE, donate those products to frontline caregivers, as an example. So the expectation is greater now than it was certainly prior to the pandemic.
Say you're growing your business and you're to the point where you want to form one of these partnerships. Do you just cold call, like, I don't know, ASPCA or some charity, and say, I want to partner with you? Or do you need an introduction? How does that work?
The Business of Cause Marketing, it is available now on Amazon, but it outlines the whole process by which you select a cause partner. It's really helpful to pick a cause that you're passionate about, first and foremost. Another key ingredient is not necessarily picking a charity that's a logical fit. So if you're a food company, you don't always have to pick, say, a food pantry. So because the most important aspect is the authenticity of the story. For instance, there's an entrepreneur who we've represented for quite a while, and his mom died from ovarian cancer. We, as a result of that whole experience, he became passionate about helping ovarian cancer. Now, he sells cooking products. That's what he does for a living. And the partnership with the Ovarian Cancer National Alliance meant more to him and his company because of that real connection, that genuine connection, than, say, a donation of his pots and pans and other cooking products to, say, Habitat for Humanity that were outfitting homes for people moving into houses for the first time.
Your recommendation, I think, is for people who want to participate in cause marketing to have a real connection with the cause and make it real. And then I think that's great, because we're always looking for sources of motivation, and certainly helping a favorite charity can add to an entrepreneur's motivation. So.
Right. And what's really another important consideration is that most consumers prefer to do business with companies that are cause involved, that are giving back. So the most recent survey indicated that almost 90% of women would select one product or service over another if the products or services were comparable, and the prices were comparable, and one was involved in a cause. They would prefer to do business with the one that was involved with the charity. And what was even more telling was that almost 70% would pay more for that product or service because of its involvement with a charitable organization. So consumers care, and that means business should care as well.
Well, I have to admit, I'm part of that 90%. So I do most of my online shopping on Amazon Smile, where part of the proceeds go. I chose the ASPCA because I love animals. And so that's where I go first, because I know they're going to give money to help animals. How much do you have to give? Like, if you're just starting a business and you don't have a huge marketing budget, I guess this would come out of your marketing piece. How much do you have to give to start?
So glad you asked that question, because our belief is that it's not about the money that you give. It's really not about the money that you give. So if you're a products company, give product. If you have a particular expertise, you say you're in the services business and you do marketing like we do at my agency, right? Give your services to a nonprofit and partner in a meaningful way. So it's not about the money that you give, it's about the impact that you make with that nonprofit organization.
So, we've had a lot of advertisers do a lot of cause marketing with us, obviously, because with everything with COVID going on, we've had a lot of brands that have, pivoted or shifted their traditional advertising messages to cause marketing messages to align with what's happening with the pandemic. What advice would you give to brands or advertisers in terms of how they position themselves with their messaging so that they're able to align with a cause, but they're also able to stand out? Because I've seen such a flooded marketplace with the COVID messaging, and it all starts to sound the same. So what advice would you give to brands who are looking to try to stand out with their messaging?
We realized a number of years ago was that you don't want to certainly do what everyone else is doing, and you don't want to do it in the way that others are doing it. Thus, the reason for the comment earlier about not always wanting to pick the most logical cause. So if there's a story behind it, that's what really matters. And there are a number of examples I could give. One is probably the first cause marketing program I ever worked on, which was with Wally Amos, Famous Amos Cookies. And Wally, his cause celeb was adult functional illiteracy. So his mission was to help stop that social ill. And he did that by partnering with Literacy Volunteers of America and helping to spread the word about adult functional illiteracy to really unite local government, NGOs, and volunteer organizations to come together to help adults learn to read. 1 in 5 adults in America cannot read. And that stat was true back then, and it's true today, unfortunately. So by partnering him with this whole cause of literacy, it created the Famous Amos brand, literally created the brand. Now, why would you think a chocolate chip cookie and a literacy organization, how could those two possibly be married? And the reason is that Wally Amos was a high school dropout, and he got his GED. And when he got his GED, he realized how important reading and education was to him, and he was a self-educated man. But he learned through those experiences that the importance of reading, and made that his mission. And he married that mission with his mission to promote the best cookie on the planet. So that's an example. And literally the cover of People magazine, the cover of Time magazine, Good Morning America, the Today Show, everywhere he went, he talked about literacy. So it was a powerful and compelling story, but it was a genuine story based on that man's experience.
Wow.
He was a high school dropout, right?
So I'm going to flip the coin a little bit. for example, there are certain charities that I just prefer not to support, right? And it has to do with that in the past, some of them have put a lot of money to the overhead and the salaries of the charities rather than actually giving money to people that really needed it. So if I see somebody supporting a charity like that, that would probably be a turnoff to me. So when you're doing cause marketing, are there things that are there sort of rules to go by that that kind of might guide an entrepreneur to minimize the impact of that kind of situation?
Research the ideal charity partner. And again, I have a whole section in the book on that very topic. One of the things that I believe in low administrative rates as well, low administrative costs. So personally, I'm involved with the Salvation Army because they have one of the lowest in the nation. And I'm involved with Boys and Girls Clubs for the very same reason. And I do that as a volunteer, and I do that with my dollars because, again, they have really low admin costs and they provide direct services to those in need. So that's my personal belief. Now, I think it's really important to also differentiate what we do personally and what we do with our companies. For instance, there's an entrepreneur who we've worked with for a number of years that wanted to get involved and give to a woman's shelter. And we said, go ahead and do that. That should be part of, if that's part of your personal mission, what's most important to you, by all means. That is not necessarily the ideal cause to partner with for a cause marketing relationship, because part of a cause marketing relationship, part of the outcome is publicity, is social media. So the women who are in that shelter are afraid of, for their lives, and they will not go public. They will not do TV interviews. The shelter is concerned with protecting their well-being, right? Protecting them. So what we recommended was a different approach for the business, that one that could generate publicity, one that could generate a lot of buzz on social. So there's a real differentiation between what you do personally and what you do in a cause marketing relationship, which is business centric.
So you have to find the right combination of authenticity and also, business sense. I mean, I suppose there are some altruists out there who would just want to donate only for the purpose of donating. But there are others who are also looking to, reap commercial benefits from their charitable donations. So it's interesting that you need to consider the publicity angle of it if you're going to use the latter as opposed to the former.
The reason why I said the pure motive and the profit motive can be married, and they can both be alive and well in the same cause marketing program. I have a couple of really great examples. So there's a race car driver that we represented. He got up to the Indy car class, and which is the top of the food chain, obviously in the auto racing industry. And we partnered him with the Seeing Eye Foundation in Morristown, New Jersey. And you wouldn't think a race car driver would be supporting a cause that trains dogs to help the blind. But the reason how that happened was when in town, he stayed at our house. He was visiting with us. And that morning we were having coffee and he had a patch over one eye. And the question came, why are you wearing the patch? He was training his eyes because when you're doing 200 plus miles an hour around turns, your eyesight needs to be really, you need really good eyesight.
It needs to be pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the inspiration for the partnership with the Seeing Eye Foundation, the strategy that we developed. And as a result of that, and we took a Seeing Eye dog in his race car around the track. And he was on the cover of Parade magazine. And not only did Sears give him a sponsorship in the millions to sponsor his car, but a couple in Seattle bequeathed $1 million to the Seeing Eye. So that's
Wow,
pretty
that's
cool. Like,
great.
so when we say that the profit motive and the pure motive can go hand in hand, by doing good, you can do well. And by doing good, you can inspire others to do good. We've seen that so many times. So yeah, there's nothing selfish about it. It's almost like it magnifies. It's a magnifying effect. When you give and you tell the story about it, others are inspired to in turn give.
Right. Well, and big companies have always been recognized for their contributions, like MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, for where the New York teams play.
I guess that's a charitable
So-
contribution if
but-
you have the Jets and the Giants, but
Especially this
their
year.
record.
But I mean, anytime a big company has donated or done something like Ronald McDonald House for McDonald's, all that, they get a lot of publicity around it. So this has been around for years, just not necessarily available to the smaller companies and entrepreneurs like it is now with your agency, right?
Well, it's really, you bring up a great point, Elizabeth, because we have seen small companies try and partner with behemoth charities, and they get lost.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really have a story to tell. The other thing is that the behemoth causes often won't be as flexible as the up and coming charitable organization. So we like up and comers. We like local chapters of national nonprofits. So when we partner our clients with the Salvation Army, we do it at a local level. We did it in San Francisco. We did it in New York, as opposed to doing it across the board nationally, because unless you are a Walmart, which does a great job of supporting many causes, including the Salvation Army, they do it on a national level. Unless you're a Walmart, you're going to kind of get lost in the story. So yeah, pick local chapters of national charitable organizations and pick up and coming charities, ones that maybe have not gotten the exposure and are looking for the exposure. So you have a cause marketing partnership story to tell.
So Chris, tell us a little bit about your business, your practice. Are you a solopreneur? Do you have a team behind you? How do you run your business?
So I have a public relations and corporate communications agency that we have a team of people. So that team has been as big as 22, and now we're at about the 10 to 12 in that range, 10 full-time and 2 part-time. And then in 2008, I co-founded a digital marketing agency called Interact Marketing, and that company has 20 full-time employees. So there's the PR agency, and then there's the digital marketing agency.
Great.
The focus is really on the PR and corporate communication side. The focus is healthcare, nonprofits, food and beverage, education. So those are really the core sectors that we work in. And on the digital marketing side, we probably represent right now 18 or 19 different industries. So it's more diverse.
If an entrepreneur is out there, they want to build a digital communications company or a PR company, what do they need to do in order to make that happen?
If we saw a shift a number of years ago from it being mostly a word of mouth business build, where we got our clients from other clients, we got our clients from people we knew, to then because I started a digital marketing agency in 2008, we started to employ search engine optimization and search engine marketing tactics. And we then generated more than 80% of our business from internet marketing. So I think it's a combination of the two: leverage the network and use organic search optimization, some paid search as well. And you can, by building content, quality content, you can drive organic search traffic. So that's really the ultimate goal. Instead of paying per click, drive traffic organically to your site. And of course, you want that to be qualified traffic. But those are some of the things that have really helped us to not only maintain our incoming leads to our website, but quality leads as well.
So how did you know when it was time to add a new person? How did you know when it was time to add a new team member?
In the PR business, we have a peer-to-peer learning group. It's called the Croft Society. And these are independent PR agency owners from around the country. I happen to have been one of the founding members of that organization. And it's really one of the best ways of getting input. And I learned from the Croft Society the key metrics I needed to look at that would help me determine when to hire the next person. So that's essential, having that peer-to-peer. I also was involved with the Young Entrepreneurs Organization, which is now called EO.
Right.
I was the president of the New York chapter of EO, New York City chapter. There's one in Albany as well. And that too, by having that peer-to-peer experience, and it was non-competitive, and it was just people helping people. Entrepreneurs best know how to help another entrepreneur. So those are things that have made a huge impact on my business, helped me to understand the numbers that I should be looking at, when to take risks, and no one can give you the answers in terms of that. That's really a moving target, but you can bounce things off of a CEO or an entrepreneur group and find out what their experiences were and learn from those right before jumping in and maybe risking too much.
Well, that's really a great comment. And it's not one that we often hear on the show, where people are recommending peer-to-peer networks, but it makes all the difference in the world when you can talk with other people who are business leaders and have been, fought a lot of battles and can give you different perspectives on, what your challenges are, things like hiring, how to work with employee if there's an employee issue, it's a great resource, and it's also good because you learn that you're not the only one who's having some of these challenges, right? So those kinds of things can be really powerful.
And by the way, for EO, even if you're not doing you have to do $1 million in sales annually to be an EO, but they have a group it's like an incubator for smaller companies. So you can approach EO and say, look, I want to get into the track to be an EO member, and they can put you in a group that'll get you there if you're under $1 million. So there are options out there, and nobody is looking for anything. It's not like a business networking thing where It's, oh, you give me a lead and I get a lead. And it's none of that. It's all about how can we grow our businesses and help one another in a really, mutually beneficial way, sharing those experiences.
When you leave a corporate job, all of a sudden you don't have any work friends anymore, right? Doing what you're doing. And so that's a lot of reason, I think, why people seek out these organizations, because here are people doing the same thing I'm doing. They're kind of like my work friends now. And we can talk about what's going right and what's going wrong, and, how this new legislation might affect our industry or what we're doing, et cetera. But it gives you a camaraderie with other people doing what you're doing.
Yeah, it's a great thing. I can't say enough about it. It helped me grow my business. It helped me get over the $2 million mark, no doubt. When I started in YEO, I was, I had just passed the $1 million mark. And, I doubled in size within 5 years of joining that organization. And I believe that that just being in that environment with all of these creative entrepreneurs is essential. I can't be alone. I can't isolate with my problems and my ideas. I need to bounce them off of others, and it gives you that sounding board. It's like having your own board of directors when you're a small company.
So this has been a fantastic segment with Chris. We're going to have to take a commercial break, but we'll be right back with more Passage to Profit right after this message.